Hey, I need an intro or something. It's awful rough to be jumping in like that. Now, a couple of things. I got to check the settings because I don't have one of the things I don't like about this is I don't see the microphone. So I don't ever know if I'm doing well. Camera looks good. Um, I'm afraid if I just click something, I was afraid that if I clipped it, clicked it, it would go away. So I don't know how many we've done in a row. I'm going to take a look. I can find out real quick. So this is our one, two, three, four, five. This is our fifth live stream, and it feels pretty good to be honest with you. It's like a break for me. It's something different than the day to day grind of the real estate business, which is it's heavy. It'll give you some things to think about. Let's put it that way. I would like to say hi to anybody that's watching. Since there's no one, I don't have to worry about that. Now, should anyone start watching this, 2 years from now, just all I can say is thank you for clicking on it. Then I hope that the thumbnail or the title was interesting enough for you. Had a bizarre thing happen to me today, and I'm still kind of processing it. I don't get many followers on my YouTube channels. And today I got a follower and it sent me an email and I was so happy. And at first I didn't even know where it was, but then I found out that it was on the Deerwood Realty live stream channel. And so when I went and looked, it was a new, I'm up to 8 subscribers and I was like, this is wonderful. Well, within 6 hours, the subscriber was gone. I don't know if it's what I said. I don't know if it's what I did. I don't know if they just didn't, I don't know. All I know is I'm no longer that person's friend, and I'm stuck down at 7 subscribers again. So that was disappointing. But on this one, I think we're at 6 subscribers. I think my goal, I think realistically, it's 4/6/2022. So April 6th, maybe I can get to 100 subscribers in a year if I get lucky. There are some headwinds. One, live streams are not really promoted very well on YouTube. I don't know if they ever will be. Number two, people aren't really conditioned to watch live streams, like on the replays. It's more fun to watch stuff when it's live, and so this is the problem we face. Like I want to have my comment section up and running, my chat up and running. I want to have everything working out, and right now it's difficult. So anyway. One of the things I've learned is as I'm practicing is it's a couple things. One, I think on the broadcast, we should start with, or on the stream, we should start with something relatively simple. And that's, well, who are you? Who are you talking to me? And so I want you to know my name is John Shank, and I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. And we're a small real estate brokerage. Now, I own the company. I finance the company out of my own profits. And it's a haul. Some months are better than others. Let's put it that way. Now, I'd like to grow my business over time. I'd like to have people in the business, both as agents and people that can help me, because I've got a lot of things going on. Like we could probably do pretty well if I could ever get over the hump. But my problem right now is I can't hire anyone. And you say, well, why can't you hire anyone? Well, I can't afford to hire somebody. You say, well, you can't afford not to. It's not like that, though. Let's just say, say I wanted somebody to help me. I mean, where's the first place an employer goes in this market? I'm going to like the Philippines. And you say, well, that's terrible, John. You're denying someone in the United States a job. You're keeping them from earning a wage. And as I go through things, it's like, I can't afford the wages in the United States. I literally can't afford it. And then you say, well, then you shouldn't have employees. This is where I'm at. I mean, like, can it be done? Can you have employees? Yes. But man, you need productivity out of those employees because they're very, very expensive. And in my business, if they're not producing revenue, okay, if they're not contributing to the bottom line, it's odd because like in real estate, the rock stars are the salespeople. They bring in the money. The rock stars are not the office personnel, and that can be difficult for people to realize. And just the way things have always gone is office personnel in a real estate brokerage get paid less than your salespeople because they're getting a guaranteed check, whereas your salespeople typically aren't. I mean, there's one national brokerage that's employee based, and I don't particularly want to have anything to do with them. And so, anyway, the nature of employment, our nature of employment, this is something that's gotten to me. I mean, just in general, which would you rather have? Would you rather have someone like myself, who's making an effort, who's doing everything they can to feed their family and do it on their own without asking for a lot of public assistance, and then you have the Wall Street fat cats in my industry. These are the people that are sold ideas by people that are usually disgruntled in the real estate world, and they'll go to the Wall Street fat cats and they'll say, we have a new way that we're going to sell houses to people. This business has been around for 100 years, but you know what? It needs something, and our company is that something. We are going to revolutionize the real estate sales industry in the United States, and we want you to be a part of it. And our limited run shows that if we just do things a certain way, we might be profitable. Unfortunately, people find out really quick that that most of those designs don't scale. And hey, whatever, right? Whatever, right? But I'm fighting against that. Okay, and in my fight, in my understanding of employment, I mean, I've had many jobs, I think, like everyone else, but we talk about there's a fit for people. We talk about things like, wages and strikes and benefits and hourly versus, I mean, to me, it's not as complex as you would think, but it seems like there are always exceptions to the rules. And so that's the goal of my channel, is just to talk about, the employment environment. Like, do you want to go work somewhere and make minimum wage and be worried about your safety? Like, what's the point? Do you want to go to a job where you can't make any money? Like, by the time you factor in all your expenses and time, all your expenses and the time that you spend there, you can't make any money. You're actually losing money just going to work somewhere. These kinds of things are real in our society. Or what about that person that can't work one job but has to work three, and they're considered unskilled labor? Have you ever tried to work 3 jobs in a day? It's wild. And so that's the point of my show. The way I would like you to help me is, first of all, obviously support the channel. Support the channel by, subscribing. That would be the best thing. We can't do super chats because I don't have 1,000 subscribers or 4,000 watch hours, so we can't worry about that. I'm going to put together a website at some point. I do have Twitter, and that's at Our Employment. That's the Twitter handle, where I pretty much just forecast, like, hey, I'm going to do a live stream tonight. It looks pretty good, and these live streams are done. Understand, I'm busy. I'm showing houses and I'm trying to run the brokerage, and it's tough sometimes. So there's going to be times where I miss on a broadcast. Don't expect me to be here every night, and check Twitter for right now to see if I'll be around. With that being said, it's important to have some sort of direction for the show tonight. And so tonight's direction is going to be, we're going to talk about a couple of things. One, working at a minimum wage job and a real threat to your health and safety. Another thing is worker harassment in 2 different places. Employee harassment. I don't think that the person that commits suicide due to harassment has it coming. And this particular topic is something that I'm not familiar with. And so I'm pretty excited to go through it, or to talk about it now. What happens when you have a bad company or a bad manager, or, how do you recognize if you have a bad boss, or, like, we're going to go through a couple of things tonight. And I think it's going to be a good time. It'll be interesting. And if you don't, you don't find the content interesting, obviously you're not going to subscribe, but you're not going to stay on the channel very long either. We know this. So anyway, with that being said, let's just get started. I'm going to do a little bit better today with my screen sharing. And here we go. Oh boy, this is the first article. I'm just coming back to make sure you can see it. Okay, here we go. It says New York City McDonald's employee brutally stabbed while defending coworkers. Now, this is the worst of the worst to me. Here's a person going to work for maybe above minimum wage, but still not a lot of money. Okay, and he goes to work. He's literally, flipping burgers or microwaving burgers, and he is attacked with a knife. And why? Like he doesn't deserve this. No one does. It says a Hero Harlem McDonald's worker was repeatedly stabbed by an irate customer early Wednesday while defending his coworkers, leaving him clinging for his life. This man may die for defending his employees, his coworkers, fighting off a knife, a stabbing. Like literally, he could have just not gone to work and he might be alive. That tells you how messed up employment is in the United States. The 23-year-old victim intervened when he saw the suspect arguing with other workers inside the fast food joint on 3rd Avenue near East 117th Street around 12:40 a.m. So the suspect then stabbed him in the back and left arm and slashed him in the face. Oh, I'm sorry. They've got it kind of weird here. It says, according to police, he was stabbed multiple times. But anyway, the victim, who lives in the Bronx, was rushed to Harlem Hospital, where he was listed in critical condition. The bearded assailant, who cops said is between 5'11" and 6 feet tall, and last seen wearing a dark green jacket and ski mask, took off after the incident and remained at large hours later. The McDonald's is just a block away from the Burger King, where a 19-year-old worker, Crystal Byron Nieves, was gunned down by an alleged robber on January 9th. And so what do we have here? Why did I bring this up? Okay. Well, does New York have a crime problem? Maybe. That really doesn't excuse this. My issue is this. This is a young man, 23 years old. Doesn't deserve, like, when people are working for a wage, they don't deserve this type of stuff. Now, I have previously advocated for stronger sentencing for those people who do attack others at work. I just find it abhorrent. The lowest of the low. And I think should this poor man pass away, I think the level of the book being thrown at the suspect should be just ridiculous. Now, are they even going to catch the fellow? I don't know. But this was, to me, an absolute, just a terrible thing. And I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. And so let's move on. I know that was a small, short story. What else are you going to do? What else are you going to say? It was bad. So the next one I wanted to go into was there's two stories back to back where we talk about employee harassment, and the person ends up killing themselves. Now, I don't know. This is not something that I'm familiar with. It's something that I don't feel very good about. But here it is, the national protest planned Wednesday for a Kroger employee who killed himself. After Evan Seyfried died last year, his family filed a lawsuit against his employer, Kroger, saying he was driven to suicide by harassment from his managers. Now, let's try to unpack a few things here, just because. Are you responsible for someone else's suicide? I don't know. I don't know the legal definitions. I don't know the moral or ethical considerations. One of the things that first raises an eyebrow here is it says that the lawsuit was filed against his employer because he was driven to suicide by harassment from his managers, but not the people that worked around him that were his coworkers. And so I thought that was interesting. Now, I don't look, the fellow's dead. I don't have any desire to throw dirt at him. I don't have any desire to throw dirt at Kroger because I don't understand the situation. I don't know enough about it. So I do want to continue though with the article. It says Wednesday marks the anniversary of his death. The group Justice for Evan has planned in-person protests in 15 cities, including Cincinnati, and online events in 3 more. Jada Murphy leads the group and said Seyfried's death put a spotlight on workplace harassment and organization mobbing. USA Today reported in 2019 that more than 90% of employees say they've been bullied at work. Now, I don't know what the definition they're using is of bullying. Not to defend the behavior, but I just don't know. I mean, like if I have an employee and I say, hey, can you get this done? I mean, we've been waiting for 2 days. Now, have I just bullied the person? Like that's what I'm saying. I don't know the definition of bullying in this case. Since Seyfried's death, Murphy said hundreds of people have come forward with similar stories of their workplaces. It says he was bullied by his manager. He was mobbed by Kroger, Murphy said. His death was 100% preventable. She said Seyfried was a whistleblower and followed all the proper corporate channels to report the abuse he was experiencing. But Kroger did not protect him. These accusations are reflected with the wrongful death lawsuit still pending before the Hamilton County Common Pleas Court. Now, I don't trust whistleblower law in the United States. I don't. I don't know how you would strengthen the law to make it more safe for the whistleblower. I just feel like at some point in time when you sue an employer or when you're blowing the whistle against your employer, the chances of you being fired are stupid high, unless, of course, you work for the federal government, like we saw this Alexander Vindeman character who was a whistleblower, but he didn't blow the whistle. Or so it's just they use so many different laws to shield that fellow. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, let's just say that like you're in you're as an employee, you're stuck in this spot where everyone above you can fire you. So you don't really want to report to management above you don't want to go up the chain of employment because you're worried about you're going to get fired. I suspect. So let's continue. It's a very fascinating issue. Let me tell you, like in my own, let's just go through my own business and how I would look at something. Let's say I had 4 people working for me. Okay. And one of the people came to me and said, hey, this other person is like harassing me. Well, I would want to do the right thing. So I'd take the person that was accused of harassing the other one. I'd say, hey, are you harassing this person? They say, no. What am I supposed to do? Do you have evidence of the other person? And again, my job is to sell homes. My job is to help buyers. My job isn't to play investigator. I have no ability to investigate. So you say, well, John, hire an outside counsel to investigate. How am I going to do that? I mean, it's like, oh, we'll just throw money here and we'll throw money there and it'll all work out. And that's not the way it works in my business. I can't do it. It's not possible. So anyway, it says, bullies don't like good people. According to the lawsuit, he was ridiculed. I guess it's a he. I think it's a he. I hope I'm not trying to misgender someone. I think that's a man's name. His death. Okay, so I didn't, According to the lawsuit, Seyfried was ridiculed for wearing a mask in the early days of the pandemic, was taunted for his political views, was given the nickname Antifa, was stalked outside his home, and was sexually harassed and sent child pornography via text message by his managers. It says Seyfried was expecting to be fired, but was also worried his managers and their allies would frame him for a crime like stealing from the store or possessing the child pornography they had sent him. After 19 years with Kroger and months of harassment, the lawsuit states Seyfried had a transient episodic break, throwing away his possessions and wandering the streets of Cincinnati for several hours before his parents found him. Now, like, I'm just trying to figure out, the guy's 19 years. He's been working there 19 years. Let's round it to 20 because my math is bad. Let's assume he started when he was 20. This is a 40-year-old man wandering the streets of Cincinnati because he's upset about work. I feel like there's more to this. I just feel like there's more to this. That night, Seyfried, who had no prior history of mental illness, according to his lawyers, agreed to go to the hospital in the morning for help, but he never got there. Around midnight, he told his father that his managers were going to get him and things would get ugly, the lawsuit states. These were the last words Evans spoke to his father before he killed himself. Now, I mean, look, I don't know about this huge underground Kroger cabal that is out there for this one employee to have discovered that, you know, if he goes to the whistleblower route, that he will be worth enough for them to really cause problems. And I hate to say that, but I mean, employees are disgruntled often, it seems, in the workforce. Not that I'm excusing it. I'm just saying that it seems that way. So, okay. So then Murphy said her group is demanding Kroger acknowledge responsibility for Evans' death and hold his abusers accountable. I just don't understand how it was only management that was abusing this fellow. I just don't understand how Kroger can just say, oh, okay, it's our fault that this man died. I mean, that's going to be tough. The protest in Cincinnati is scheduled for noon on Wednesday at the Hamilton County Courthouse. There are protests planned for noon local time in Arizona, California, Connecticut, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Hampshire, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Tennessee, and Wyoming. We'll have people in the front of the White House, and they'll be wearing Justice for Evans shirts. In a statement released Tuesday, Kroger officials said the Kroger family is saddened by the loss of our associate and extend our condolences to his family and friends. Because this is a matter of active litigation, we're not able to comment further. Now, this is a case again where the accuser is allowed to just spew all kinds of, vitriol, and the company is not able to do anything about it. And you say, well, yeah, they could acknowledge no, they're being sued, probably for more than like $5, I'm guessing. But this highlights something that I'm out of touch with and out of step with. I would want an environment where there was good-natured ribbing from time to time. I think everybody just to have some fun with each other, not none of this, none of this harassment stuff. That's not, or bullying. I don't think that. And I would also want to point out that, your political affiliation when I was growing up wasn't an issue. But now it has become weaponized. And I don't know that that's such a good thing. And what's driving that? What's causing that? I don't know. But I don't like it. And I don't know that we're ever going back to a time when this isn't an issue. But how did they know this fellow's politics? Who was he talking to? And it's a terrible situation. But it's the first that we've only had 5 episodes. This is the first I've found where some company is being sued for this issue, which it was just terrible. Don't get me wrong. I feel terrible about it. So let's go. Then it just happened that there was another harassment suit. And let's go to that one. I hit the button, but now it doesn't look very good. Okay, here we go. It says Activision Blizzard sued over claims sexual harassment contributed to employee's death. The parents of Carrie Moynihan allege workplace harassment was a significant factor that led to her suicide. Now, as the father of 2 women, this drives me insane. I don't want my kids working in environments where this could even be close to, true. But let's be honest. It's a weird world we're living in. So anyway, let's go. It says the parents of an Activision Blizzard employee who died by suicide during a company retreat in 2017 are suing the company for wrongful death. According to a report by the Washington Post, Paul and Janet Moynihan, the parents of Carrie Moynihan, a 32-year-old finance manager at Activision Blizzard, alleged sexual harassment was a significant factor contributing to her death. Investigators ruled Moynihan's death a suicide after she was found dead in a hotel room at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa in April 2017. So we've got a 32-year-old. Now, when you hear Activision Blizzard, you're thinking programmer. You're thinking gamer. And maybe you're not, but I am. Here we go. As noted by the Post, Moynihan was anonymously referenced in the lawsuit filed by California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing last July, which sued Activision Blizzard for allegedly fostering a toxic culture of constant sexual harassment. The DFEH's complaint claims her male coworkers passed around a photo of her vagina at a holiday party before her death. When the suit was filed, Activision Blizzard said the DFEH's allegations were distorted and in many cases false. Okay, so the complaint says this. And then they say that that's distorted. Now, I think we should always be concerned about, like having pictures of ourselves on our phones and things of this nature. Now, it says a copy of the new lawsuit viewed by the Post claims Activision Blizzard fostered and permitted a work environment in which sexual harassment was pervasive, and then it failed to prevent such harassment. It also accuses Moynihan's boss of hiding his sexual relationship with Moynihan to investigators. Now, I feel like that's an ethical problem. Restuto worked as an Activision Blizzard's senior finance director until May 2017, 1 month after Moynihan died by suicide. So let's kind of go through this. If you're having a relationship with your boss, one of you has to go, in my opinion. It's not right. It's not right for the organization. It's not right for if things go wrong. If you don't end up happily ever after, this is a bad situation. And so I don't wish that on anyone. I mean, I kind of hope for love. Believe it or not, I hope for love and good things to happen. But I mean, I'm a realist. So okay, so that's one thing. Now you say, why should one person have to go? I don't really want to get into that. I don't care who goes, really. But you need to find another. You need to find another position. You have too much power as a boss over your employee. That's just not appropriate. So anyway, I don't like this. According to the suit, Activision Blizzard. Now let's understand this is a suit. That these are allegations, and that they should be tried in a court of law at some point in time. So, according to the suit, Activision Blizzard allegedly refused to give police access to both Moynihan and Restitutio's company-issued phones and laptops during the investigation of Moynihan's death. Now, this is terrible, but I suspect that Activision Blizzard has lawyered up. I suspect that they have counsel, and I suspect counsel is in this position of, look, we don't want to be sued for millions and millions of dollars. And so, if you get a warrant, I suspect that's what the argument would be. Get me a warrant, and I'd be happy to turn over this information. So that's the other thing. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is across all industries, is we look at our company phones as a benefit to working at the company. They're devices that record everything that you say and everything that you do. That is not helpful because you don't even own the phone. The company does. And the same thing with computers. So what I would advise to all is, look, if you're going to do something terrible on your phone or on your computer, make sure it's not the company computer. It seems obvious, but what do I know, right? So it says Activision Blizzard has been embroiled in a controversy since last year's lawsuit, a month after employees staged a walkout to protest workplace discrimination. The Wall Street Journal dropped a bombshell report alleging Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick has been aware of rampant sexual misconduct at the company. Kotick still remains the CEO after employees and shareholders called for his resignation. In January, Microsoft announced its forthcoming acquisition of Activision Blizzard, with Kotick remaining as the company's CEO until the deal closes sometimes in 2023. The Verge reached out to Activision Blizzard with a request for comment, but it didn't immediately hear back. Now, again, if you're involved in a lawsuit, this is obviously they've got issues. I've noticed that like you can normally get one or two accusations thrown your way, but if it becomes an avalanche, then something has to happen. And perhaps that this is an avalanche. I feel terrible that this woman died of suicide. It's just a shame. This was bad. All right. Now, kind of going with the theme today is you're at work, you're minding your own business, and you're doing the company job. Now, here we go. We got Florida woman told to stop panhandling, sets gas station clerk on fire. Sets the clerk on fire. Please stop panhandling. I'm going to set you on fire. A homeless woman told not to panhandle outside a Florida gas station, doused a clerk with gasoline and set her on fire. Set her on fire. Can you imagine? You're going to work. You're trying to feed your family. That's all. And now you've got a homeless person out front who has set you on fire. And this is allowed. I say this is allowed in America. This person should be just dead. This should be over with. You should not be able to allow, you should never be able to have a woman working be severely injured on the job by some homeless person. It says Betty Jean McFadden, 30, was charged with attempted murder in the gruesome attack at a Circle K gas station in Pensacola, where she was told earlier Wednesday to leave. McFadden left, but returned about 1 p.m. Wednesday with a gas can and attacked the female clerk by dousing her with fuel she panhandled before throwing matches at her and setting her on fire. A second gas station employee was also burned while helping put out the flames. McFadden proceeded to calmly walk out of the gas station and was arrested a few blocks away. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victim and her family. This is a senseless and practically indescribable act of cruelty. This is absolutely disgusting. And I hope that the full weight of the law comes down on this disgusting scum immediately. McFadden, who's listed as homeless in jail records, by the way, you could argue, say, oh, she's homeless. She has mental problems. I don't care. I don't care. This is ridiculous. She's being held without bond on an attempted murder charge. It's unclear if she'd hired an attorney who could comment on her behalf. As the Escambia County Sheriff's Office spokesperson told the Post, she could not provide an update on the victim's condition early Thursday, citing privacy laws. We know she suffered life-threatening injuries, she wrote in an email. So the female clerk, who has not been identified, had horrific burns and was rushed to a hospital. She ran from McFadden after she was doused in gasoline. Multiple witnesses saw the grisly attack and used clothing and water inside the gas station to extinguish the flames. The second clerk was also hospitalized. McFadden did not say anything to the woman she doused with gasoline prior to the attack. Look, the homeless are an issue, okay? And people will say, more funding. No, we need more than just funding. This is just not. And if we live in a society, if we're all going to live together, this type of behavior can't be tolerated, no matter what the circumstance. You say, well, John, it's not being tolerated. look, the Justice Department is going to, or the judicial, or the justice will be served for this woman. You cannot tell me how this woman was doused in gasoline and burned, okay, alive. How are you going to fix that woman's life? And she was working, like she was trying to make something for herself. And then you have this other thing that wasn't working, panhandling. And, it's just terrible, just terrible. So if we've learned anything tonight, it's that I cannot stand what happened here. It just makes me sick. Moving on. I thought this was kind of interesting because, management does play a role in the environment of the office. If your manager's terrible, it may make you want to leave. And this is true across all industries and all pay scales. I mean, you have a manager at Wendy's that's terrible, and your job sucks. It's just going to suck. So, it's interesting how people get put into management positions. What are the criteria for that? And then what happens when it clearly doesn't work out? For instance, let's go back to the woman who committed suicide. Her manager, in my opinion, was not a good manager. Her boss was not a good boss because of the relationship that was, maybe if you disclose it to HR, but even then, I just feel like it's just a bad idea. Anyway, according to Glassdoor, the average company in the U.S. spends $4,000 onboarding a new employee. That covers jobs, advertisement, advert fees, interview costs, and the first month's salary. Investopedia also stated that companies then have to spend a further $1,500 on training, but that might be accounting for the wage of the experienced employee that's training them in the office. So I would just say that onboarding a new employee will cost many multiples more than that. At least in my organization, it would, because if I'm training an employee, I'm not getting revenue at the time. So I'm like, it's like a double whammy. And the first month's salary, I mean, it's getting expensive to have someone work full time. It seems kind of low to me. But anyway, considering the costs are so high and the average employee turnover rate is 20-1 or 20.1%, we're going to look at why employees leave bad managers and not the company, and how brands can look to rectify problems. So it says employees are humans. They want recognition and support. I think that's true. And I think that's what's lost in our laws of, in employment, our employment laws. I think that's one of the biggest things missing. It says it's a natural human instinct to want recognition and rewards. I don't particularly want any rewards. A pat on the back and a little more. Since the days of early childhood development, science proves that humans develop from positive rewards. The perfect solution is an employment engagement program. Studies prove that the employees with higher engagement rates are 21% more productive and have 37% less likely to be absent from work. Simple reward systems create better teamwork, better working environment, an inclusive management style that rewards based on performance. Managers who fail to recognize and reward employees, especially when a business is going through a busy period like the holidays, are proven to lead to higher turnover rates. Well, I mean, that seems to be like obvious. I mean, no one wants to go somewhere and work and be treated like a number. No one wants to go to work and not have any, like, just go to work every day and nothing positive ever happens for you, even though you're working hard. I mean, does that sound like a place that you'd want to go? Now, here's one of the things I've learned just through going through different organizations. Look, no matter what you give an employee, okay, like if you give them $100 for just a bonus, just random, they're going to want it 200. It's like, you can't win, but you still have to try. So anyway, it says managers are humans. They need support. It's not necessarily the management that's to blame. It might be the management above them. Interestingly, one study by HR Zone found that 31% of managers receive no formal training for their role, which is weird because, like, I have an MBA and I'm not in an organization, and 45% lack the confidence to support their team. I don't know what that means. Those figures highlight a distinct lack of training and support that can lead to overwhelming stress, anxiety, and ultimately a reduction in productivity. Businesses that put a simple support structure in place that goes all the way up to the CEO can expect a structured support team that gets company results. Sometimes it's not the individual who is a bad manager. Their management style is a product of the support structure and environment. I don't know if that's true. And let me just put it in a different perspective. Let's say you're at Home Depot and the government says you need to have a mask mandate. And so now you tell your cashier who you're managing, you say you need to go out there and you need to count the number of people in the store at any given time. And you need to restrict access to only, say, 1,000 or 100 people at a time. Like, first of all, the cashier was hired as a cashier. They have no idea what to do about line counting. It's just not part of their job. And you're getting, you as the manager telling this cashier to do this, you're getting your jobs or you're getting your command from someone higher up from you, like a regional manager or something like that. It's quite bizarre. It's quite bizarre. The only way to track progress, a study by Inc. highlighted how less than half of the employees interviewed meet with their managers. Instantly, there's a communication breakdown. Employees don't have the chance to raise concerns within a neutral and unbiased conversation. The same study found that 73% of employees would be open to moving careers. One solution to this problem is to send out a 360-degree feedback survey. Employees can anonymously disclose their feelings about the company's management as well as the inner workings of a company to highlight areas for improvement. It gives employees a chance to voice their honest opinion, something which 56% of employees feel they can't do to their managers face-to-face. Why would you? That's a good chance to get fired. Seems obvious to me. Management styles vary. Some offices are very corporate, while others take a more relaxed approach, but it's not the working environment created by the style that's the problem. It's the interactions, communications, and rewards that build the foundation for the companies employees never wish to leave. Now, I will say this. I agree with this. It's the interactions, communications, and rewards built in the foundation. Communication at work is like the most important thing, and yet it's the most difficult thing. Let me give you an example. Like, they're talking about they want to do a 360-degree survey. Okay. Well, who doesn't want to do a survey, right? Well, I don't really want to write up a survey. I want to go sell houses. Like, that's my job. That's what I want to do. And so, that's where I'm at. That's what I want to do. I don't want to write a survey. And then what am I going to put on the survey? Would you like more money? Has anybody ever, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you want more money? Like, is anybody ever going to say, no, I don't want more money? And then, like, what if you get in a situation like, do you feel there's harassment at work? Do you feel there's bullying? You almost have to have a question. Do you feel there's bullying as defined by X? And so the write-up of your survey is so very important to getting these 360-degree views. However, at the same time, do you know how management will be upset, like in general, when they think that you're undermining them or you don't like them? You create a situation where it's us versus them. It's bad. But I agree that communication is the key. And as individuals, we don't all communicate the same way. I think that can be a problem. So, like, for myself, like, if you text me something, okay, I will stay on the text medium. But if you send me a document through text, I get irritated because I don't like to handle documents through my phone. My phone's a little bit older. It's a little bit slower. I would prefer that you just sent me an email with the text document, because then I can download it, put it in the right file on my computer, and be done with it. But that's a form of communication. Okay. Similarly, if I'm working and I'm supposed to be doing tasks at my job, and I'm knocking those tasks out left and right, I don't really want to talk on the phone. Like, if my boss calls me and says, "Hey, how's everything going?" That's fine. But can I get back to work? Because that's just me, though. There's probably 10 other people that think differently. And so I just thought that was an interesting article that kind of explained, like, look, like, you want to treat people well. You want to treat people well as people, but we're not really necessarily trained to do that. It was very, very, very fascinating. So I that's why we included it. Hope you enjoyed going through that one. How to recognize an asshole boss. Now, I thought this was interesting too. Let me get you to where you see it. How to recognize an asshole boss. Now, this to me was funny because I can recognize one immediately. I've had some in the past, but let's see what they say. It says, there's an age-old saying that people don't leave organizations, they leave bosses. Now, this was literally the next article. We've just talked about this. I thought that was pretty cool. I have to get a drink or I'm going to cough all over the place. In my 20 plus years as a human resources professional, I can tell you with absolute certainty that this is the case. I began my career in human resources as an after-school job in high school. It was fun. I learned a lot and it launched me into an awesome career. However, it left me totally unprepared for the real world of horrible, awful, asshole bosses. And I think that's true too. When you go to school, when you go to high school, they're trying to teach you like foundational things. They don't teach you how to deal with other people. I say that, and I mean it like, there's diversity and tolerance and whatnot. That's great. But they don't teach you like, how do you think critically about a situation when it's you, like when you need to figure out something. Not really good at that. And then in college, at least in the business courses that I took, everything was always so black and white in the sense that like, they would give you like for an MBA, they talk about like, hey, here's the scenario. What would you do as a manager? But they outlined the entire scenario, which is a lot different than when you're in an environment, and it could be any number of different ways. For instance, let's just look at my situation right now. My listings for the year and really for the past 2 years are down. Why is that? There's no known. You see, there's no known. It's like, could it be that, there's many thousands more real estate agents right now currently working in the marketplace than there were when I started? Could it be that I'm a bad listing agent? I mean, we don't know. But that's the difference between learning in college and learning in high school and learning in the real world. It's totally different. Let me introduce you to the management hierarchy in the human resources world. First, we have leaders. True leaders are people who put their teams before themselves. They give credit where credit is due. They provide timely feedback, and most of all, they generally give a shit. From my HR experience, when an employee reports to a leader who honestly and genuinely cares about them as a person and as an employee, it makes all the difference in the world. Trust and loyalty are born. These are the people that we call kick-ass leaders. Now, I don't call anybody a kick-ass leader, but they're the people that employees flock to and want to work for. The truth is, people rarely leave their leaders, and that's counter to what I would do in my organization, because my goal, like, I know I can't pay you what a big organization can. I'm not your lottery ticket, but what I can do is help you prepare and get you in that spot where you can leave my organization and go earn that lottery ticket. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for all the people that work for me. So anyway, next we have managers. Managers are those who sometimes get a little lost. They may try to do the things capable leaders do. They provide feedback and they want to do what's right for the team. But unlike leaders, they may be out for themselves. They may not trust their team, and they may even pick and choose who they care about on the team. These managers often want to do better, and most of them are doing the work it takes to move up and become great leaders. Once they truly understand that they manage processes and lead people, things start to improve and get better. Finally, we have bosses. Bosses are at the bottom of the pile. They are the people who take credit for the ideas of others. They openly mistreat people. They don't trust their teams, and their teams don't trust them. These bosses may not even realize how bad things are because they lack the necessary self-awareness to understand how their behavior impacts others. They only care about themselves, and most times they truly do not give a single shit about their team. These are the bad bosses. In fact, just in case anyone might still be living in the 90s and thinks bad means good, these bad bosses should be given their proper name, asshole bosses. I don't think that's a proper name. I don't particularly like to use that on my live stream, but that's what she used, and so I wrote it. The fact is, more often than you believe, I stumble across a manager who just doesn't get it. These are the people who fear or intimidation is the best way to get things done, who think it's their way or the highway, who think getting to know their employees is the highest level of unprofessionalism. Let me tell you, those people are not leaders. They're not managers. They're bosses, and most of them are asshole bosses. That's a very interesting way to look at it. Let me put forth a scenario. Let's say that I need you to do a list of things every day. You must complete these things. I'm hiring you, and you must complete these things every day. Okay? And you don't ever. And I've had other employees in the same position, and they can complete the tasks exactly the way they're supposed to be completed every day. So it's not a question of competency, like making you do a job that you can't do. It's a question of you not doing the job you're supposed to do and that you're being paid to do. Am I within my rights to say, get out? It's over? I mean, I don't think that you can. I mean, if I've had 10 other people come through the organization and they all can do this task and you can't. Now, fear or intimidation is the best way to get things done. I don't particularly want anybody to live in fear or be intimidated in the office. That I don't think that's fun. I wouldn't want. I was in an office with fear and intimidation, and it was terrible. It was terrible. And then getting to know your employees is the highest level of unprofessionalism. I think there should be some barriers. I really do. Maybe that makes me a bad boss, but like, I don't want to. I know this sounds. I don't want to know your sex life. Like, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know where you went Friday night. I don't. I don't really want to know your opinion on like the politics du jour of the day. I don't. I mean, unless we're friends, and then we can talk about it, but you shouldn't talk about politics and you shouldn't talk about these things in front of others. It's just not where you should be. This is my opinion. You tell me, maybe I'm a bad boss. So employees know bad bosses when they see them. Do you? I don't know. We just went over it. It says truth is employees know when the manager is supposedly leading them has zero interest in learning who they are as people. And then, like, let me just point this out, okay? This seems to me a high-level article. If we're talking about the McDonald's line employee, I feel like that manager is a different type of manager than someone that might be perhaps leading like a defense contractor. I'm just putting it out there. In a healthy work, consequently, employees don't see the point of talking to their manager about anything. In a healthy work environment, employees see managers as people who eliminate negative behaviors, as people who help coach and people manage people who act badly or perform poorly. In a healthy work environment, good employees are celebrated for doing well. They are made to feel safe when a manager enters the room. Much of this comes from seeing leaders who actually walk the walk. Asshole bosses are the opposite of this. For HRDs, I don't know what that means, wanting to identify and help remedy their presence, they should consider the following tips. 1, good bosses have to show they are vulnerable. This increases the likelihood of an employee coming to a manager during a personal upheaval. On the flip side, if these bosses are themselves in the middle of a difficult situation, like a death in the family or another crisis, they need to be vulnerable and let their team know they're going through a rough time. That's a very interesting point. It's a very interesting point. So there's a balance again. I don't want to heap my problems on my employees. It doesn't make any sense. And some of my employees' problems are going to be so difficult that I have no reference point in any way to help them. If your cousin's on meth and they're beating their wife, I mean, like, how am I, I don't have the ability to fix that problem. It's one of those things where it's like, you probably need to talk to somebody that like is a specialist in that area. And I mean, I'm trying to make a profit. I'm trying to keep the doors open. And I mean, so that's where I'm at on that one. So maybe I'm a bad boss. It says good bosses have to recognize the warning signs of an employee who is struggling. If they build a good team relationship, it will be easier to detect problems early on. If bosses don't know the signs, they need to be able to ask for help so they can acquire that skill immediately. That's where having a supportive HR team around them is invaluable. Again, it's like, if an employee is struggling, I mean, what do we do about that? Like, we can talk about it a couple times, but I'm not in a position where I can just like have dead weight on the payroll. I'm just saying. Good bosses don't pry or act as the office therapist. Well, as I've just explained to you, I don't want to be the office therapist. It says bosses need to care without pushing and asking uncomfortable questions. Since they hold more power, employees may tell them more than they're comfortable with. So good bosses need to set boundaries. Like, I've never even read this article, and I'm just telling you the things I said it like a while back. It's like I'm not equipped to handle some of these issues. You need to seek like professional help. It says good bosses listen first, like really. They need to use eye contact. They need to use open body language. Then they need to ask questions like, how can we support you, or what can we do, if anything, to help you, and follow through on it. And that's another fascinating thing. Like, now you're asking me for things. One of the things that I find more, like, this is just in the real world stuff. I've been in organizations where somebody goes to the boss on a Wednesday and says, hey man, I know my paycheck comes Friday, but I'm not going to make it. Can you pay me early? I swear, it's not unusual. I say, well, you haven't even worked the other 2 days, and I'm supposed to pay you for those two. Hey, and then some of these people are so desperate, they'll say, look, I'll even pay you back more money after this if you just help me get through this one spot. So that's fascinating. The next thing is eye contact. Well, I'm okay with that, but I can't go around and around and around on something. I just don't have the time. Like, the way my business is set up, I've got things to do. Okay. And like daily, I can't be tending to your every need in that way where I can stop what I'm doing, stare at you for an hour, and we can talk about our feelings. It doesn't seem to work. Let me check the chat just to see if anybody's in. Oh no. Okay. I was worried. It says good bosses listen first. Like, really? Oh, I'm sorry. I just did that one. So I made a mistake. Good bosses consider people's workloads and what adjustments can be made. The best bosses step up to help out. They don't divulge any confidential information about an employee. I don't know why you should, unless, like, that's like office behavior is so strange, because if you do it right, if you do it wrong, you have issues. And like, let's just go over a fairly simple issue. What if your employee, what if their mother passes away, and you personally, you're the manager, you want to get flowers or something, but you kind of want to open it up to all the employees, like, hey, let's get some flowers for so-and-so. Okay. That's like, you mean that in a nice way. Well, somebody may not like so-and-so, and they might be like, I don't want to have to give money for so-and-so. I hate them. Like, that's the kind of stuff. It's like, ugh. Anyway, give staff what they want. Otherwise they'll walk. Remember, when bosses do actually care, people know that. Conversely, if your employees feel undervalued or unimportant, how could they trust that their boss will ever put in a good word for them? I'd put in a good word for people. I would have no problem with that. I'd be happy to. Remember, too, that as inconvenient and as time-consuming as job searches are today, an unhappy employee will still choose job hunting over putting up with a boss who just doesn't care. The fact is, what worked in the past to attract and retain employees just doesn't work anymore. People demand flexibility, equity, and respect. I'd like to believe that. But I mean, like, I don't want to poke holes in the article, but Henry Ford offered like more money than anyone else hourly to get people to work in his factories. And then he had like a crime squad leader, like, look after the employees. So you say, well, that was back then. If I offered a lot of money to you and there was a secret police in my organization, would that keep you from working there? I don't know. So it shouldn't be hard to give people those things, yet some organizations are still struggling. Giving employees the best experience possible means that people need to take precedence over profits. Now, I don't agree with that. And let me tell you why. If I need to take people over precedence, over profits, what am I running? I mean, I'm running a business and it's a for-profit business. Okay. Like it says giving the best experience. So should I send them to Disney World? What the hell? I'm just saying. When companies focus on people first, they seem to thrive. The successful leader of the future is collaborative, innovative, strategic, authentic, accountable, inclusive, self-aware, open-minded, flexible, empathetic, and humble. Good Lord. In the 20 years since I've been in HR, I've witnessed plenty of great middle managers and plenty of asshole bosses. The choice of who you have in your organization is entirely yours. HR professionals should know what it takes to make kick-ass leaders, but they should also know that there's a lot of work and it doesn't just happen overnight. But if your organization has these bosses, though, you're starting in a deficit. Moving the needle even a little bit might be a major accomplishment, but don't stop there. Push yourself, especially if no one else is pushing you. The world needs more kick-ass leaders because there's already an abundance of asshole bosses. I don't know what to think of that. Do you? All right. One last article, eh? And I mean, yeah, we're going all over the place tonight, but so be it. We're going to go all over the place every night. So just come along for the ride. It says Tesla will pay Ukrainian employees up to 3 months if they are conscripted to fight. Now, Tesla is like, I have another agreement about Tesla. I have another article about Tesla probably coming up where they're being sued for X, Y, and Z. Elon Musk is one of the more fascinating individuals in our time. I mean that. His ability to market himself and his companies is second to none. At least once a week, he finds himself in the news, like the world news. And that's pretty hard to pull off even once in your lifetime. And he's managed to doing it every week. This past week, for example, he bought a major stake in Twitter. But anyway, let's go. It says, an internal email obtained by CNBC outlines steps Tesla is taking to support Ukraine. For example, Tesla will keep Ukrainian employees on payroll for at least 3 months if they're called back to the country to fight. The email also praised Tesla employees for helping SpaceX, Elon Musk's aerospace company, set up Starlink satellite internet service in the country. Ukrainian Tesla employees who are asked to return to defend their country will receive pay for at least 3 months, according to an email the company sent on Monday to the employees in Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. It wasn't clear from the email whether this benefit would be extended to employees in North America and elsewhere. Well, if they're native Ukrainians, I would think. After 3 months, Tesla plans to reassess the Russia-Ukraine war and their employees' situations to decide what more would be needed. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky called up reservists to fight back in February ahead of the anticipated invasion. In the Monday email sent on the 12th day after Russia invaded Ukraine, Tesla employees were also praised for helping SpaceX, the aerospace venture, also led by Tesla CEO, to bring its Starlink. I mean, we just read that. Anyway, among other things, Tesla's energy team assembled and provided lithium-ion battery energy storage systems known as Tesla Powerwalls to run Starlink equipment in Ukraine. Tesla employees used inverters and charging cables that were donated by Tesla's certified installers in the area to assemble the Starlink and Powerwall systems. They also fashioned AC cables from scrap at Tesla's new factory being built outside of Berlin to help power Starlink equipment. Now, this is an organization that said, like, we're going to help Ukraine. At least, maybe not Ukraine. We're going to help these people that work for us. And I'm okay with that. Can you support your employees without taking a political stance? Gosh, I hope so. It says, although Tesla does not operate in Ukraine, the company said in an email that about 5,000 Tesla owners in the country and other EV drivers could obtain free vehicle charging at some of its supercharger stations in Poland, Hungary, and Slovakia. Well, that's going to be a problem because men aren't allowed to leave Ukraine at this time, between the ages of like 15 and 65. Tesla is not alone in navigating impacts to employees in its own business in the wake of the Russia war in Ukraine. Automakers such as General Motors and Ford in the U.S. moved quickly to suspend their business in Russia following the country's invasion of Ukraine. Stellantis, which is I believe, like the Fiat Chrysler thing, I think that's what it's called, said on March 2nd that it established a support team that would operate around the clock to support and monitor the health and safety of the company's 71 Ukraine-based employees. Now, that's a fascinating thing. Support and monitor the health and safety. You're in a war zone. Like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to help their safety? Tesla did not immediately respond for a request for comment. Here's the full text of the email, which was sent by Axel Tangen, Tesla's director of Northern Europe, on behalf of the company's HR director for the EMEA region, Miriam Khalifa, and senior director for Tesla EMEA, Joel Ward. The email was transcribed by CNBC with photos of Tesla employees and facilities removed for privacy. I think at the end it says, if you have any further thoughts or ideas with regards to how we can be supporting our employees and those affected by the crisis, please do not hesitate to connect with us. I don't want, like, this is an example. This is an example. Let me get over to the right page because we're going to go here. This is an example of a company putting its employees in the forefront. Let me ask you this. Is it better to have put forth an effort, even if the cause was wrong, for the people involved, not for PR, not like Nike where they use slave labor, but they act like they don't. Like, we're going to worry. They like to poke the racial inequality barrier here in the United States when they do that so that we don't pay much attention to their slave labor in China. But when you actually have an organization, now we don't even know if there's any employees from the Ukraine that are on Tesla's payroll. I mean, everything gets so messed up in the world. Like, when you try to do the right thing, you get just fired at by people all over the place. And I think it's a like Ukraine is not a perfect place. Russia is not a perfect place. It's still like laudable that an organization would at least help like the people. I think that's where I'm going to end it with the people. Like, when a government puts sanctions on a country, you're hurting the people. You're not hurting the people that are in charge because they're stealing everything. This here, like the Starlink system in Ukraine, these types of things, that shows that you care about the people. And I think that across the world, that's a positive and laudable effort by Tesla and anyone else that's working in that direction. So with that, I'm going to head out. It's been fun. It went fast. Were we all over the place? Yes. Would I have loved to have your comments? Of course. But we're building this. It's going to take time. We're going to get to 10 subscriptions. And then we're going to get to 15. And then we're going to get to 20. And you're going to be in the chat and we're going to talk about things. This is how it's going to go. It's not going to come overnight, but we'll get there. And with that, I'm going to head out. Thank you for watching. Catch me. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be around tomorrow night. Same time, 9:00 Central. And I will see you later. Goodbye.